Hi and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a January transfer move to Arsenal. I'm in the studio today. Just did a brilliant interview with Sol Campbell. Look out for that. That's going to be coming out ahead of the North London derby. Brilliant interview with Sol Campbell. He was also a bit disappointed by the performance last night of Arsenal and gutted, as we all were. But saying that, listen, ain't quite all over yet. You never know. Arsenal could claw it back. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I'm still gutted about last night. Arsenal, of course, losing. First defeat at home, actually. Losing 2-0 to Newcastle. And what was particularly sort of bad about the loss is that every Arsenal fan, I think, especially people who watch this show, will know that we all know that Arsenal could do with an absolutely top-class quality striker. And we saw last night that in a nutshell. We saw Newcastle. They had a couple of chances in the game. Alexander Isak, their striker, absolutely clinical. Buries the first one. Second one gets a great shot off. It's parried out, and Anthony Gordon scored, who, by the way, was another player that Arsenal were looking at bringing in the summer. But it was how clinical Alexander Isak was, in contrast to Arsenal, who had way more chances than Newcastle. Their expected goals was over 3. Newcastle's was like 1 and they scored 2. And it just showed you in a nutshell what we're missing. We need a striker. And up front yesterday, we were poor. Martinelli missed a chance. Havertz missed an absolute sitter. Trossard was non-existent. I think he had no crosses, no take-ons as a right winger. I mean, this Arsenal team needs a striker or needs a forward player and needs it this month of January. And if Mikel Arteta doesn't get it done, you can see the season fading away. That's how bad it's looking at the moment without Saka in there. So surely that would have, well, hopefully, Mikel Arteta and everybody there has seen that, and that again is going to make them go out into the transfer market. But it was glaringly obvious to everybody. And on Alexander Isak, I was reading today where Dimasio saying that Arsenal want to sign Isak, but there's no way they're going to be able to get him this January transfer window. Could be a possibility definitely in the summer, but right now Newcastle are not going to let him go, and that's obvious. Now they could be, they've got one foot in the final of a Carabao Cup. They've got a chance of getting in the Champions League. They've got owners who ain't short of a few bob. The richest owners in world football. Impossible to get him in January. But should Arsenal hold on till the summer and try and get Isak, who'd be perfect for Arsenal, or do they go into the transfer market right now and just get a striker? No matter who, just get someone. Viktor Gyorkeres is still out there, despite there's been news coming out that, he's, set to stay at Sporting until the end of the season and then make his move. But should Arsenal just go and just meet the release clause? Meet that release clause of £85 million and say, right, over to you, Victor. Test his resolve. I mean, or do they wait until the summer for Alexander Isak? Viktor Gyorkeres, by the way, is the main guy for Sweden. They're both Swedish. Gyorkeres is the main guy, not Isak. So, but should Arsenal just go out there and just try and get that done now? And then there's also Dusan Vlahovic. That is another possible viable target for Arsenal. He seems to be pretty destabilised at the moment at Juventus. Hasn't signed a new contract. Again, will be very, very difficult to get done in January because, Juventus still, fighting on all fronts. But there is a lot of talk that, a big offer could get Vlahovic away. Is he worth it? Is he worth that 70, 80 million pounds, which you'd have to pay to get him out of Juventus? I don't know. The position that Arsenal are in at the moment, for me, we're going to have to go over the odds. So should they go for a Vlahovic? Nico Williams is the other one. If you're not going to go for a striker, maybe then a wide player. Nico Williams is the other one. According to David Ornstein, he claims that Arsenal would like to sign him this January transfer window. Obviously, the difficulties again is, does the player want to move this January transfer window? We all know about the £48 million release clause. Do Arsenal go and activate that? Or have they already heard from the player that, listen, there's no point, I'm staying till the end of the season? Not been really lighting it up so far this season, Nico Williams, if truth be told. But, you know, a new challenge might make him want to move. And Arsenal could do with a left winger right now. I mean, Saka will eventually return, but on that left-hand side, do we have enough? And talking to that right-hand side, you know, Bryan Mbuemo is another one. You know, I mean, Thomas Frank said the other day when he was linked with a move to Arsenal, Thomas Frank, the Brentford manager, said, listen, good luck, tell Arsenal, good luck with trying to get him out. But we know in January, big, solid offers can make that happen. So should we go and make an offer for Bryan Mbuemo? I'm giving you a list of a load of people right now that not easy, but possible. And Arsenal need to make a signing. Damasio again saying that Arsenal are interested in Bryan Mbuemo, so should they try and make a move for him this January transfer window? I spoke about this guy yesterday, Kang-In of PSG. Again, the rumours is that he's considering his future. PSG don't really want to sell him, but if an offer came in for around about 37 to 40 million pounds, they may consider it. Arsenal would be more interested in taking him on loan. But again, is this something that could be done this January transfer window? Because Arsenal need the signing right now. Now, here's another possibility. Dani Olmo of Barcelona. Now, I spoke about this one when the transfer window opened. Barcelona having lots and lots of problems with trying to get Dani Olmo registered. They bought him in the summer, but they're not able to register him at the moment for the second part of the season. They've appealed against it. They've lost that. They're trying to take it now to the government of Spain to try and get him registered. The likelihoods of that happening, by the way, are not very high. And Dani Olmo could be available on loan from now to the end of the season. Now, there's multiple reports saying that Arsenal are monitoring the situation with Dani Olmo. We saw him in the Euros. He was really, really good. He scored goals, can play as an attacking midfielder. And we saw Odegaard last night. He really looked off it. But he can also play left or right wing, and he does score goals. As I said, the situation probably is that, you know, Barcelona are not going to sell him, but maybe willing to loan him from now till the end of the season, and then try to get him registered for next season, hopefully after they sell a couple of players. So one to keep an eye on, that Dani Olmo situation, although there are a lot of teams monitoring that situation, and Dani Olmo himself wants to stay at Barcelona, but it could be out of his hands if they can't get him registered this month. Now, what about this one? Douglas Luiz of Juventus. I remember Douglas Luiz, who was at Aston Villa, Arsenal a couple of seasons ago, bid for him. He ended up staying at Aston Villa, but he had to move last season to Juventus. £42 million they paid for him because of Villa falling foul to the PSR rules. There's lots of rumours that he could be on his way back to the Premier League, maybe to Villa, maybe to Arsenal. Had very limited game time for Juventus this season, only playing a handful of games. He's had a few injuries as well. And there's a lot of talk that Juventus are willing to let him leave the club. Now, whether that's for just getting a full fee back, which would be, you know, they only just bought him, as I said, in the summer, or maybe a loan to get him game time. But Douglas Luiz could be available. As I said, linked today to Aston Villa and Arsenal, but one to possibly keep an eye on this January transfer window. There are teams that are looking to possibly loan out players so that they can get game time at another team. So you never know with that. But it's not a holding midfielder that Arsenal are really looking for right now. What they need is a striker or a forward player who can play on both wings. It was clear to everybody last night when we was at that game, or if you watched the game on TV, is it clear to the manager? Is it clear to Mikel Arteta that this is what is required this month? Because I fear that if we don't get that, the way that attack is looking at the moment, the season could drift away. Let's see what happens. Still a way to go in this January transfer window. And of course, we'll keep you up to date with all the movements right here on AFTV. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.